Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last minute of play in the third period. I would like to play you something from TSN's official Instagram.
Hey, Ty, it's PK Subban here at the Nashville Predators. I heard a little bit about you and what you're going through. I can tell you this right now, that as long as you're still breathing in this world, you got to believe in yourself and let nobody tell you what you can and can't do, especially if it's because of the color of your skin. You know, in this world, some things happen that we don't really understand. That's okay. We don't have to understand it. All we need to do is understand ourselves, believe in ourselves, and keep trying and keep pushing forward. So I just want to tell you that when you're playing hockey, you play because you love the game and you want to play. Let nobody take that away from you. All right?
So, yeah. Last minute of play, 30 seconds for each of you, and we'll start with Sean. That guy sure seems like a cancer I don't want in my locker room.
Why on earth would you want him on your team? Like, he puts up bad numbers. Like, he's not a good defenseman, and then, you know, he's a cancer in the locker room, and I don't think there's anything else to say about that. Mark Bergevin, you're a genius.
Johnny.
Doesn't do any charitable donations or anything like that, and definitely is definitely what's causing your team all your misery for sure if you have him on your team.
Who needs it?
And that horn now means you are listening to Overtime Radio on CHSR 97.9 FM in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. It's me, Kaley Etheridge, of course, in the booth with Sean Crocker.
What's up?
And Johnny James.
What's going on?
And we have a packed show, so we're going to try to get through a lot of stuff here in an hour. We're going to talk about Bryce Harper and a little bit about MLB free agency. We're going to talk about the retirement of the first of the Big Four tennis players, Andy Murray. We're going to talk about the fourth Battle of the Hill between UNB and St. Thomas. John Tavares hit 300 goals. John Tortorella hit 600 wins. Players bailing on the All-Star game. Me and Sean are going to have an extended debate about the relevance of the current CBA negotiations. And we're going to talk about the College Football National Championship. But first, let's get through some news and notes and try to get through them pretty quickly. Les Jeux de la Francophonie, the Francophone Games, which were supposed to be hosted by New Brunswick, they're not going to be hosted anymore. The provincial government withdrew their support for the games because they were horrendously over budget by close to $100 million.
Yeah, something like that.
Very close.
No, just it's crazy, and it's I don't know. It seems like a very significant event, both sports wise and cultural wise, and it's unfortunate that the mismanagement of it has caused it to just I'm not sure if it's still going to happen, or they're going to have to find another way to do it, or who knows.
Hopefully. Polyana Viana is a UFC female strawweight fighter. She's in the news right now for wailing the absolute crap out of someone who tried to mug her. Yeah. 2 days after that, the UFC capitalized on the media opportunity and announced that her next fight will be at UFC 235, which is the John Jones Tyron Woodley supercard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for her. She's fighting on the undercard. I hope she wins, because it sounds so dumb, but this is what UFC's been waiting for.
What do you mean?
It's a media thing. If she wins, she's going to be asked about the mugging. It's a big deal. The pictures of the guy are just savage.
That's just why you people act all tough, especially when you have a couple drinks at a bar or something like that, which wasn't the setting here. But you never know what the skill set of someone you're messing with, especially if it's a stranger or something like that. It's just it's always better to walk away or to not try and get involved in public conflict as much as possible, because that might happen to you.
Just don't be an idiot.
Yeah, absolutely. He paid the price, that's for sure. His face kind of looks like a road map now.
Calgary Stampeders' Alex Singleton is signing with the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's
good
cool.
for him.
That's good.
We always kind of want that.
So if he's signed now, he can't join the mid-playoff run, can he?
I don't know what the exact rules are for that.
Because the way they phrase it is that he's committing for next season, so I'm assuming that means he'll be on next year's roster, whether it's a practice roster or if it's a main roster.
I'm assuming he can join the practice squad now.
Probably.
And there might be an avenue for him to be an emergency call-up if a bunch of people get injured.
Yeah.
But I think he's out until next year.
Yeah. If you have a playoff team, you don't really want to mess up the chemistry and bring someone that doesn't know your systems and everything in.
No, and it's funny. someone pointed out there's a little bit of extra intrigue in this battle because Drew Brees had set his high school record for touchdowns as a quarterback, and the person who beat that record was Nick Foles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Damn.
So they play tomorrow, Sunday night.
Yeah. Is Singleton, is he a quarterback?
No.
No, he's
he's I think he's a defensive player of some kind.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Max Comtois came out with a quote about cyberbullying. Good for him.
Yep, absolutely. Like, it's pretty much like what you would probably expect. Like, it happens a lot more often than people think it does, just because, like, it's not put out on, like, public forum or anything like that, other than, like, on the internet, that sort of thing. It's through, like, the deep, dark kind of channels and everything, so.
I think it was also kind of uncalled for. Like, I mean, I don't think there's anyone denying
like
that.
if you want to talk crap and say, like, oh, this guy sucks and whatnot, like, okay, that's fair and everything like that. It's just, yeah.
Hockey's a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but like,
I don't think there's any
taking
denying.
it to that level is just it's not needed.
No.
Just not needed.
Yeah, it was particularly egregious what happened. So some of it anyway. Dear New York Islanders, please stop playing Thomas Greiss. Just play Robyn Lehner. He's putting up Vezina caliber numbers, and you're in a playoff spot.
Yeah. Do you have the numbers there, Sean?
I do. He has currently sporting a .926 save percentage with a .222 or a 2.22 goals against average. That is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I'll see if I can pull up his advanced numbers here.
And that's second only to Jack Campbell, which doesn't count because he has only played like a handful.
Yeah,
of games, right?
he only has like 5 wins.
Yeah, over like starting, like I know Leonard and Greiss have kind of been like splitting the games somewhat, but like yeah, like he seems to be on a pretty good tear.
Well, I was talking to you guys beforehand about high danger save percentage. Mm-hmm. And Frederik Andersen currently has an 800. We said Andre Vasilevsky is like a 650 or whatever it was. Robyn Lehner has an 845.
845.
So it's better than Frederik
sweet
Andersen.
crap.
It is ridiculous. And his low danger save percentage is 973. So from like the peripheral parts of the ice, he's stopping 973.
I have one question about that. When did Leonard play on the Senators? Was it last season?
No.
A couple seasons ago.
He
played in Buffalo in between.
He played in Buffalo before, yeah, because I mean, all the rage and anger.
Is he the next Dubnyk story?
Yeah, maybe.
Potentially.
See, I don't even think Robyn Lehner.
I don't know if he was entirely a washout. The Sabres teams he played for were not good.
Yeah, but he was his save percentage and everything like overall was not the greatest. Like, and he's never been like the great. Like, he's been a career backup for the most part, has he not been?
He started in Buffalo.
But that's a pretty low bar for a starting goalie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's basically like, who's starting? It should just say which goalie's getting sacrificed tonight.
And right now, I'm pretty sure he's officially Greiss's 1B, but the Islanders should really consider changing that.
Yeah, they should. I'm surprised, like something like I'm not sure if they have like as deep of an analytics department as like other teams in the league, but like they should be picking up on that for sure and starting Leonard more.
I think it's definitely something that teams pick up on, but it's really one of those things. It's become universal to hockey. Mm-hmm. So.
All-Star Game aesthetics, they're awful.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, the comment being like, oh, it looks like the printer ran out of ink when they were printing these jerseys off.
I feel really bad because the concept behind the jerseys is actually brilliant. Because they're all made out of recycled sea waste.
Yeah,
right?
it's all eco-friendly, like disposable material and everything like that.
But all the decisions are bad. So you don't have individual All-Star Game jerseys. Because the teams don't get jerseys. Instead, every player is going to wear a jersey based on their team, which is dumb. Yeah, no, they're just bad. Mm-hmm. They're black and white, and the bottom stripe, like you said, looks like a printer ran out of ink.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's going to be if jerseys. Nylander and Babcock, I'm assuming this is about the fact that they're just brushing off the media.
Yeah, it was just a really funny kind of quote about Nylander like watching the hunting channel or something like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I forgot about this.
It's just like a really kind of like, it's probably the most candid quote we've gotten from Babcock since he became Leafs head coach and everything like that. It's like, yeah, apparently there's this like hunting channel that like not only Nylander but like multiple players watch in order to like just stay off of like Twitter and like that sort of thing and like ignore like the media kind of buzz around them.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that hockey players also a lot of people don't realize. Hockey players don't like talking about hockey when they're not playing hockey.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most people don't want to talk about their job when they're doing their job or when they're not doing their job.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same principle.
Kyle Dubas was in Russia to scout a player I've never heard of.
Yeah, he's just doing what Dubas has been doing. I'd like to see, like, because I don't think, I haven't checked his numbers recently, but Ozhiganov hasn't been, like, that bad of a pickup for them. It'd be nice to see them, like, continue this kind of trend of bringing players over from Europe. Like, I know Zaitsev is kind of, like, iffy and washy at the moment. I still have a little bit of hope, but not much. But, yeah, it'd be good to see him, like, just continue that trend of, like, filling out the roster with these players.
See, I think it's great because it's no less than a market inefficiency. It's something that not all teams employ, and some teams' scouting departments don't have the capacity to go to Russia and scout. They don't have the capacity to go to different parts of Europe. So it's something that the Leafs are taking advantage of. And I think to be competitive, to be able to build around a team that's going to be very tight to the cap in years to come, that's what you're going to have to do.
Well, the thing is, I realize this player's not one, but we talked about this earlier in a few episodes ago about how 2 NHL teams have made big hits by pulling goalies over from Europe with Rittich for Calgary and Edmonton
Koskinen
for Edmonton.
And that's the future of it.
Yeah, I mean, we said that before. With more competitive leagues existing in Europe, players have less incentive to come over to the NHL other than money.
Yeah.
And the KHL is paying players a lot, so...
Yeah, and that's the thing. They can afford to do that, but in the NHL, it's a bit more regulated. So I think you're going to see a lot more players coming over, and a lot more high-caliber players. Like, people say, like, when Ovechkin's contract is up, he's probably going to go to the KHL. I don't know if that's the case, but I think that's relevant to the whole conversation.
It's definitely not the case.
No.
A female official was barred from reffing games for the Alberta Junior Hockey League because she was a woman, quote unquote, apparently, from the head official of that area. That story is covered by CBC. I recommend going and checking out that article. I mean, we've had a talk again not that long ago, the Women in Sports one, where the guy said that you couldn't have women executives or coaches in the NBA because everyone would be trying to sleep with them. Like, sexism still exists in sports.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just something that, like, they need to address. Like, they are addressing in a lot of ways, like with, like, the prominence of, like, the CWHL, which is that all? I wonder if that's all reffed by female referees. I would assuming it probably is.
I've never checked.
Yeah, I would hope probably that would be, like, the goal of that as well.
I don't think that's the case.
And I do keep tabs because I'm a Calgary Inferno fan. Go Inferno.
Yeah. But yeah, there are like big steps, like especially like women in like hockey management, like with Wickenheiser being on like the training staff for the Leafs and everything like that. But it's just another kind of sad reminder that we still have it's more of a kick in the pants that we still have a long way to go.
And just a fun note, actually, one of the recent candidates for the Toronto Blue Jays GM job was a woman.
Okay.
I forget her name, but like she sort of like rose in the Cleveland Indians organization.
I mean, anyone can rise in the Cleveland Indians organization.
Well, that's true.
They try a lot of weird stuff.
So she has the Mark Shapiro connection, and that was the whole speculation there. She's one of the candidates. She didn't get the job, but I think it's interesting that women are actually being considered for these roles now.
Montreal Canadiens prospect Nick Suzuki was traded in an OHL trade for a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
Johnny?
As always.
So this is a story from Josh Beneteau on Sportsnet.ca. Montreal Canadiens prospect Nick Suzuki traded from Owen Sound Attack to the Guelph Storm. So the Storm is sending Suzuki as well as winger Zachary Roberts and overage defenseman Sean Dursey. Oh, I didn't know Dursey was involved in this. That's Leafs draft pick of last year to Guelph for forward Zachary Poirier and Bart Kerwin, defenseman Mark Woolley, and the following 4 draft picks. The 4th round pick in 2019, this is Guelph's, 3rd round pick in 2021, 2nd round pick in 2022, and a 3rd round pick in 2022 that is conditional. It does not list the conditions here.
Okay, so I think I might have misunderstood. Is Suzuki getting traded to Owen Sound or from Owen Sound?
From Owen Sound.
To Guelph.
He now plays for the Guelph
Okay.
Guelph Storm, and they got those 4 draft picks plus a couple other depth roster.
Yeah, I was trying to
players.
figure something wasn't adding up in my head there. Yeah, that makes way more sense.
But I didn't know Dersey was involved in this. Yeah, he was drafted by the Leafs last year, so interesting.
The Ducks have tied their record 9-game losing streak
Yes.
because John Gibson can't carry a team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we were talking earlier. I'm not sure whether we ever said it on the record, but if Gibson manages to even get them into the last wild card spot in the West,
Give him a heart.
give him a heart and the Vezina, Jennings, every trophy.
Masterton.
Every trophy he qualifies for, just give it to him.
I mean, also remember, Anaheim's also missing Corey Perry, Ricard Raquel.
Who aren't they missing?
Raquel's back.
He just got back.
Yeah, they've been battered for going on 3 seasons now. It's
Just old.
Yeah, it's
They're just getting old.
It's they need to make
Can
some
you really
change.
say that? Perry and Getzlaf are as old as Crosby.
A bit older.
I think
No.
there needs
33.
They played in the same World Juniors.
I'm pretty sure Getzlaf's 33.
Yeah, Getzlaf might be a couple years older.
Either way, same age range.
Yeah, there needs to be a change, but it's also kind of unfortunate that the injuries are kind of magnifying just how carnivalistic their seasons have gone over the past couple of years.
People in Columbus are really, really desperate to keep Artemi Panarin in Columbus. He's been offered free vodka, free dentistry.
Free everything.
Wasn't the original picture of the vodka billboard tweeted by his agent? I think it was.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it was. And because Panarin a couple of days later took a picture, he found the billboard and everything, and they're everywhere around Columbus right now. So with good reason. He's by far in a way their best player. Might be the best player they've had since Rick Nash, something like
Can't
that.
these people see?
Barring another player we're going to talk about anyway, you're saying?
He's going to sign in Chicago, and he's going to help Chicago to another dynasty.
He's not going back to the Blackhawks.
He's going to the Blackhawks.
He got traded for the sad man.
He's going to the Blackhawks, guys.
That would actually make a lot of sense. Because what have the Blackhawks always been good at doing? They look kind of iffy, wishy-washy after a cup.
He's going to cost too much money for the Blackhawks.
Chicago doesn't have a cap,
And then
we
they-
know this.
And then they fleece a team and get a good player
They
and
can't
send
afford
garbage
Panarin.
back.
I'm pretty sure they can.
Okay, what's your timeline on this then?
What do you mean? What's my timeline?
So Panarin's contract expires this year, right?
Yes.
So you think he's going to sign with Chicago in the offseason? Mm-hmm. If he is on the Blackhawks roster on opening day of next year, I will come into the studio and I will hand you a $5 bill.
Please. And
But
if
you're-
it is not, I will hand you a $5 bill.
I
Good sir.
accept.
Awesome.
All right. We're shaking hands on this.
We have it on record. We have it on video. It's all good.
He's not going to sign Chicago.
He's gonna sign
I think that he's starting to warm up to the idea of signing in Columbus again because he's been completely out of the drama since he was initially in it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's more about the other player that we're going to talk about that's more dramatic.
Yeah. Seattle team names. There's been a whole lot of talk about what the Seattle NHL team is going to be called. I like Kraken personally.
Yeah,
Kraken.
I'll bring up that list. I
I think Metropolitans is terrible and extremely dated.
I heard them debating about this in the press box at the Stu UMB game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They debated about this. Andy Campbell was in on it.
There was a really, really good jersey
It was
concept
heated.
that was posted for pilots, but people said that that's not a great name choice because there's already the Jets.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
There was also one that had Christmas colors and stuff like that too. That I'm not sure if it would be an alternate jersey.
Name the hockey team the Supersonics.
Oh my God.
What team name is the Thunderbirds?
That's their WHL team.
Right.
Yeah, isn't that what
Because,
what you suggested?
Yeah, I
before?
suggested just take it.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Why not?
Does anyone still own it though?
I mean, probably the Thunderbirds.
I would assume.
That team's still active.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that team's sticking around after Seattle gets an NHL team.
So this is a tweet from Chris Daniels. This is from an article on bardown.com. Key statement are NHL Seattle nicknames. Gary Bettman spoke at length today about trademark. This is a couple days ago and the importance of them. Todd Lewicki keeps reinforcing Times poll won by the Sockeyes. So apparently that's the Seattle Sockeyes.
Yeah.
And the ones that are trending up are the Sockeyes and the Steelheads. Trending down is the original name, Metropolitans, Totems, and unfortunately Kaley, the Kraken as well.
Yeah, I don't think the name's going to win. I just think it's cool.
Also, isn't Kraken spelled with 3 Ks?
No.
It's Kraken. I thought there was 2 Ks in the middle.
You mean like Krakken?
Yeah.
No.
Like that's the way I thought
single
it was spelled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, single K sounds right.
Kappo Kraken.
Kappo Kraken.
Kappo Kraken.
Could you imagine if he ends up on Seattle somehow? Oh my goodness. That'd be the best nickname in the NHL.
They'd also need that team name, though.
But if they got the team name somehow.
That would be pretty great, though.
What if that was
Kappo
like
Kakos.
what was that a condition? Like you give us the pick that gets us Kappo Kraken, and we'll take Kappo Kako, and we will take this crappy name that our fans don't like. Sorry, Kaley. Anyway.
All right. On the actual stuff we're talking about, we've got about 35 minutes left, so we're still going to have to move with some expediency. Humboldt Broncos, whole bunch of stuff happened this past week. Lane Matichuk, who was one of the players that they didn't think was ever going to skate again, skated for the first time.
Yeah, he was just, there's a video of him with a coach who was like kind of like leaning on the net, and the coach was like kind of like guiding him through, like just giving him some stability on the ice. Not looking too bad for someone who was like, I'm not sure what was wrong.
Fatally wounded, essentially.
Were his like legs mangled, or were they worried about his spine? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to sort out like what the actual injuries were and everything.
Yeah, because there were so many of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, another thing we didn't talk about, what we should mention, is that the truck driver has pleaded guilty.
Yeah, I actually had that next on my list. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the driver pled guilty. His official statement was that he didn't see the point in taking it to court and dragging out the misery for a bunch of families when he felt that he was guilty.
Yep. Good on him. Like I know that sounds kind of bad in context, but like it's a really tough thing. Like in my personal opinion, like I know this is like, no, someone does have to pay for that kind of mistake, but like the fact that he has so many like skeletons in the closet now after that, and he's caused so much harm to so many families, like he sounds really remorseful, and like that's going to be punishment enough on top of whatever he ends up getting.
Yeah, I think someone was saying that there's a bunch of complicated stuff around it, but the maximum sentence is I don't remember if it's 10 or 16 years, depending on how the charges are laid out against him.
Yeah. The fact that he comes up will probably like have him closer to 10. But I don't think he's doing it, like, doing the guilty plea just to try and get less years. He's doing it because, like, I think he truly feels bad. Like, who wouldn't? I don't think this is a malicious, like, he wasn't drunk or anything like that. It was
a snowstorm. He ran a stop sign. He hit a bus.
Yeah. He made one crucial mistake that happened to cost happened to affect 29 different lives and the loss of half of them.
Talking about lives that were affected after the crash, we didn't mention this last week. We actually forgot about it. The coach for the Humboldt Broncos quit. He essentially came out and said that the mental toll of trying to help the team recover was just too much for him to continue, which is wild because they're actually doing extremely well play-wise this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they really are.
I'm sort of in like a weird space about this where he's saying, the mental toll on me is too much. And in my sense, job already done. You came in when the team was in shambles and you're leaving them in first place with not most of the recovering done, but like all the ceremonial recovering done.
Yeah.
So, I don't blame him for leaving. I don't have any ill will towards this. I think it's just surprising more than anything.
Absolutely. Like, we found out about that right after we were recording the actual Humboldt segment for our year in review and everything. It just came across my phone as we were finishing recording that segment. And it's like you mentioned, Kaley, just what he has to, try and counsel these players through as a complete outside party to that accident. And it's just like, how can I ever relate or understand? And the fact that he has got them to a place where the team is back and the team is doing well after it should have been in a state where it would take years to rebuild. Hats off to him, and I hope he gets he still gets a job, and it doesn't seem like anyone has looked down upon him for that, which they shouldn't.
Major League Baseball free agency, otherwise known as the Nationals Carnival.
Oh boy.
So what's going on with the Nationals, Sean?
Well, you know what? I think the Nationals have had the best offseason in the entire major leagues. They signed Patrick Corbin, and for reference, Patrick Corbin had 250 strikeouts, only 50 shy of Max Scherzer, who was at 300. So they added another arm to the rotation that's deadly. They just signed Brian Dozier, second baseman, to a 1-year, $9 million deal. And based on his pedigree, he should be making at least 20, based on market value. He had a down year, and he is by far and away the best candidate to have a bounce-back season. So that is why I think the Nationals are going to win the World Series.
So just recap that again. So they upgraded their pitching staff.
Oh, very much
when
so.
they already had a strong pitching staff.
Yep.
Yeah, with Strasburg and who else is on
Scherzer.
Strasburg, Scherzer, Patrick Corbin now.
Yeah, so they have like 3 or 4 guys that could be an ace on most teams in the league.
Easily. All those guys races on the Jays, for reference.
What was their strong point this season? Was it pitching or was it offense, defense?
It was definitely pitching and offense. I think their defense was a little lackluster, and that's sort of where they suffered. Mm-hmm. But realistically, I think this team can compete without Harper, because in the outfield they still have Adam Eaton. They still have a great core, and to have that kind of pitching.
The question is, can they beat Atlanta?
Absolutely. I think anytime.
I mean, they couldn't this year, and they had Harper.
Do you mean beat Atlanta in general, or in a playoff series, like say in a best of 7?
I mean, win the pennant.
I think absolutely. I think anytime you have,
because they didn't this year.
Anytime you have 3 guys who can strike out at will, like we're talking Chris Sale level guys. Anytime you have 3 guys like that, you can win anything you want. You can win anything as long as they're on their game.
So a lot of people have been speculating that people are kind of being quiet on Harper and Machado because they want to see where some of the smaller pieces fall before they spend money on the big pieces. What's the number for both of them, do you think? Like AAV.
I wish I had a number for you. And the thing is Scott Boras, he's one of the more prominent agents in baseball. He's Aaron Sanchez's agent. He's very... What's the word I'm looking for? He's a character.
Okay.
He's definitely a character. And GMs have said they don't like this guy. And it's because he's very witty, he's very out of the ordinary, and he's also Yusei Kikuchi. He just came over from Japan.
Yeah.
And he signed the most ludicrous contract ever. It was like a 4-year deal, but there's options for like a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th year, something like that, at like a reduced value, and it affects the budget, and it dodges everything with conventional knowledge. But ultimately, I think Harper signs in maybe the $30-35 million range
per season.
Per season, yeah.
Yeah. See, whenever I hear a number like that, my first thought is like, well, what kind of team could afford that under the cap? And then my brain's like, baseball. It's baseball.
It's stupid money.
Is there no limit on?
No.
Well,
your own budget.
There's a luxury tax, so you have to pay a tax if you go above a certain amount.
Okay.
But like,
it's not like the NBA. The NBA has a luxury tax, but they also have a second cap. MLB does not have a second cap. If you can pay the luxury tax, you can spend as much money as you want.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, and so teams like the Yankees don't care about the tax. Dodgers too. Although honestly, like as far as the Yankees go in the offseason, they've straight up said they don't want to spend to the luxury cap. And that's the Yankees.
I mean, it worked for them last year. Their roster wasn't that expensive last year.
To be fair, Aaron Judge was only making like $600,000.
Yeah, sure. Because he was on his. Is he still on his ELC, or did he get signed?
I think he's still on his ELC for 1 more year.
That's impressive. I'm gonna have to leave that. Andy Murray retired. First of the Big Four. His goal was to retire at Wimbledon this year. He announced at the Aussie Open that he's essentially in long-standing pain. He can't compete at the level that he wants to, so he's going to retire at like 33.
Is it technically announced? Because he just said like it's probably going to be.
Yeah, he said it's probable.
He said it's probably his last tournament, and he was also quoted as saying, "I don't think I can play for 5 months in this pain to get to Wimbledon." I think if he's going to retire after a major.
Yeah.
And I think one more kick at the can for the Aussie Open, one of the 2 that he hasn't won, is a pretty poetic place to end it.
Yeah. So what does he have in his career? How many?
So he has a U.S. Open. He has a Wimbledon. He's the only player in history to win back-to-back gold medals at the Olympics.
Yeah. Including one in his actual like when it was in London.
Yeah, when it was in London.
Oh, that's right.
He's also the first Brit to win Wimbledon in like 70 years or whatever. Some
That's
crazy number.
That's really crazy.
Yeah.
No, wasn't that all in the same year he won the Wimbledon?
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
He was number 1 in the world, 2016.
I believe. Correct me
Or
if
not
I'm
2016,
wrong.
2012.
Was he the flag bearer for the closing ceremonies for London? Yeah, that makes sense. No, he's a hero in Britain. Got to be.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if you're a tennis fan, he's one of the players you love. He's one, like, we call them the Big Four for a reason. Obviously, him, Novak Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal.
Yeah, in like a time where like he was like for a lot of the time like he was like swallowed up by like talents like Djokovic and Federer. And
I
Nadal.
know. Murray was the other guy in the Big Four.
But like he still managed to find like that year, and he channeled like the fact that the Olympics were there, and he still put together a year where like he managed to get to the top.
If I'm not mistaken, that was the start of his big breakthrough, was the London Olympics.
Yeah, did he hit number 1 that year too?
I thought it was that year. It might have been later than that. Let me double check really quick.
It would have been either that year or shortly after he hit number 1 in the world. So he like you can't take that away from that. At one point, he was the best tennis player in the world, rankings wise and everything. However, I think tennis rankings you can rely on a lot more than most rankings in sports. I think they keep that pretty consistently updated and to the point and truthful.
Yeah, 3 Grand Slams, 2 Wimbledons, 2013 and 2016, 2 Olympic Games in 2012 and 2016. He was ranked number 1 in the world. As highest ranking was number 1. That was the 7th of November in 2016. So that was the second Olympic gold medal in Rio, not the first one in London.
Oh, okay.
Because that would have also been the year that he won Wimbledon and made the finals of the French and Australian Open.
Yeah. So there were like 3 or 4 years there where he was on his rise up, going off of the London Olympics and everything like that. So he had his moment. He rose to the top of his profession.
At an era where he was, once again, we talk about the Big Four, playing against 3 of the best tennis players ever, period, end of sentence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the last, 20 years, there's never been a better era for tennis ever.
No.
Ever.
No.
Especially when you throw in, even recently, names like Raonic and,
Well, that's the thing. It's crazy because we're talking about how this is, a new golden era for Canadian tennis. Raonic was briefly number 3 in the world. That was our golden era for tennis. Mm-hmm. Federer and Nadal and Djokovic and Murray dominated each individually for half a decade or more.
Yeah.
Murray from 2012 to 2017, Djokovic kind of in that range too, was number 1, number 2 from in the 09 to 2014 sort of range. Federer and Nadal have traded number 1 back and forth anytime that it hasn't been one of the other 2 guys.
Yeah, they passed it around like a baton.
Yeah.
It's just been them. And I wonder if there's some sort of acknowledgement when they are all retired, saying okay, this is the golden era of tennis right here.
Yeah.
Because it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that Murray's has to end because of an injury. Mm-hmm. Injury and surgery and just not being able to recover. And that's a shame.
Even that, if any circumstances not get to finish it at Wimbledon, which would have been just a poetic send-off, you definitely sell out. I'm not sure how often they sell out Wimbledon.
Every time.
Every time. Yeah, okay. That was a stupid question. Anyway, but yeah, still that's a highlight. That's probably a moment of the year in sports and everything like that. So, but still, great career. Hats off to him.
UNB and St. Thomas played in the final Battle of the Hill this season at the Grant Harvey Center. The season series was 3-0 for St. Thomas, all 3 games ending 2-1 in favor of the Tommies. Going into that game, UNB's record was 0-2-1. It is now 1-2-1. Reds took the last Battle of the Hill of the season, 3-1 in a game where they looked very, very good and St. Thomas did not.
I think the key really was intensity. It really was, because I looked on the bench and I saw Sarah. She was very animated. Her you could tell her team fed off of her energy. And St. Thomas, sort of ho-hum. And I talked to Peter Murphy after the game, and he said they needed more intensity. Mm-hmm. They need to be more in the game. Apparently the intensity in practice hasn't been up, so they're really gonna have to ramp it up tonight.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep that intent because you're fat and happy. Your 12 game winning streak. You're at the top.
So we made a mistake last week because I misread the Moncton result. They were 7 points clear of St. FX.
Yeah.
Yep.
we'll talk about like the implications for both teams in a second, but is this not the way these games have gone, the way the season series has gone? It's the best of both worlds for like each franchise. Like the battle on the hill is definitely like it's a competitive rivalry right from the get-go. Close game, like the 3-1. That's the widest margin of victory because all the other ones have been 2-1, right?
Yep.
So
it's also the feather in the cap for UNB because they've now beaten every other ranked team in the conference. They beat St. Mary's, they beat X, they beat St. Thomas now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is huge for UNB because we talked about on the last show that their back half of the schedule is not nice. And this is probably the perfect start they needed. That like, okay, this is the type of caliber team that we're going to have to beat to get a good spot going into the playoffs.
I'll eat crow here when I said that I thought that the bye was out of reach because of how tough their schedule was. But a slip up by X and a win over St. Thomas. Now the 2 games they have left against St. FX might be the difference between you getting a first round bye. And even if we say that UNB is the 4th team, we just did an entire 10-minute bit on Andy Murray, who was the 4th guy in a group of 4. And if you're talking about AUS right now, that's UNB. UNB is the 4th team in the kind of big 4 sort of situation that's going on. You can do a lot of damage when you're the 4th team.
You know, as someone who works for the team, I think it's great if they get the bye, but I think as a fan of AUS, I don't think it's good.
Why?
Because I think so. In order for I want UNB and Stu to play in the playoffs. I want that to be the finals, but it's not going to happen if UNB has to play St. FX and then St. Thomas has to play St. Mary's. I think St. FX takes UNB.
Sure, but that matchup is the only feasible way to make it stick. Otherwise is for UNB to finish 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the layout's the same, and St. Mary's is like free falling.
But that's just me being crazy and saying I want to have some fun.
I think that
realistically, you want
if you want a UNB St. Thomas final, I think you want UNB to have the bye because then they have home ice in the second round of the playoffs. I know that the 2 seed is sort of cursed in AUS where they tend to lose to the 3 seed, but I think you'd rather have home ice.
I think so too. Don't get me wrong. I think if UNB gets the bye, it's going to be fantastic. It's just me being silly saying, I want the craziest, most outlandish way possible for St. Thomas and UNB to meet in the playoffs.
So what needs to happen? Stu plays X tonight, and UNB has Mount Allison this weekend.
And X has another game this weekend, because you have to remember that one game on UNB and St. Thomas' schedule was the battle on Wednesday.
What's the other X game?
I'm not sure.
I'll
double check. Look it up really quick, Sean?
Yeah, I'll check that.
But if they win, say X loses to Stu tonight because they play Stu.
X loses to Stu tonight. Stu is 9 points clear of St. FX for first, which I think essentially locks up first place. Mm-hmm. St. FX does have a game in hand, so it's closer to 7 than actual 9. X's other game this weekend is also against Mount A. So assuming, but not assuming, because Mount A does have wins over UNB and St. Thomas this season in their very small cadre.
You mean UNB and St. FX?
No, they have a win over St. Thomas.
Oh,
Mount A has a win over St. Thomas from earlier on in the season.
Okay.
St. FX is in Sackville this weekend.
Yeah, I just said that.
Okay.
I beat you too.
So sorry, I was too busy looking it up. Too focused.
Those should be free wins. I'm not saying they will be, but we're talking about a Mount A team that has, if you're talking just goals scored, has scored 16 less goals than the next nearest team in the conference, because their best scorer plays for UNB now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think if you're UNB, you want X to lose that game. X is probably beating Mount A. You're probably beating Mount A. But the gap's then 4 points, and you play X twice. Mm-hmm. There's your gap.
Your fate's in your own hands.
And there's your 2 most important games of the season right there. That's going to determine.
You also play St. Mary's, who's the other team that you're trying to catch, and you're playing UPEI, who's the team that's trying to catch you.
Yeah. So they're all important games.
This is the thing. Is Dalhousie's obviously trying to make a run for it now, but they're 7 points out of a playoff spot right now. And
they basically got to win out at this point.
But the thing that's interesting about it is the 4, 5, 6 slots are a log jam. UNB's at 21 points, Moncton's at 19 with a game in hand, UPEI's at 19 with a game in hand. So feasibly, all of the teams are roughly in the same spot. The thing is, those two teams also have a game in hand on Dal, and if we're talking about the gap to making the playoffs being 9 points, Dal's toast.
Yeah.
Then you're just playing for seeding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If we're teeing up, the big game is tonight. 5th ranked St. Thomas is playing 6th ranked St. FX this evening at the Grant Harvey Center. Keep an eye on our Instagram because we will be Instagramming while we're there. Me and Sean anyway. Johnny is preoccupied.
Yeah.
Me and Sean will be there, and you can follow us on Instagram. We'll be making some posts.
It's also isn't it Soldier Appreciation Night there?
Armed Forces Night or whatever.
Armed Forces
Yeah?
Night, something like that. Yeah. So
Why do they always do it against St. FX? I get it's a big game. but, like,
UNB also does against St. FX for men's hockey.
Well, that-
I think
I understand
I think it's just because
that.
X's hockey programs are consistently good. So if you schedule it, you can almost guarantee that the game will matter. Although the men's one didn't because Gardner's team has been like crushing everyone they
Bonkers.
played.
yeah, and X lost all their firepower this year. So.
But we're talking about the two highest scoring teams in the league. X scores 3.11 a game. St. Thomas 2.95. They're 1 goal apart for goals for. They're pretty much equal for goals against.
And this is who? Sorry.
This is X and St. Thomas.
Okay.
So that game's tonight.
Yeah. So that'll be a close one. With a lot of every game pretty much has like multiple implications per game.
If you are keeping an eye on this from home, you can tune in at austv.ca. It might also be on Bell TV 1, but we cannot confirm or deny if it's on Bell TV 1.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact. There are 3 Tommies in the top 5 for points. Can you guess who it is?
Nationwide or
No, well, in AUS.
I mean Alexic, Henman, and Reed.
Yeah, top line. And then Sarah Bujolt right below them.
All right.
Should be a good game.
15 minutes left, so it's still a bunch of things to cover. John Tavares hits 300 goals. I don't know if there's anything in particular you want to say on this other than he's the first player from his draft class to do so.
I have something to say.
First overall pick makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank God he's a Leaf.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He's ours.
Oh yeah.
John Tortorella becomes the first American coach to hit 600 wins. He beats Peter Laviolette to 600. They played each other last night.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Beats Ron Wilson, too.
That's crazy to think about.
Wilson's not even close. The next person after the two of them for active coaches is Bilesma at 320.
Is it actually?
Yes.
Oof.
Does Bosma even coach in the NHL anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
St. Louis?
No, that's... Does he coach in St. Louis?
I thought it was St. Louis. I may be wrong.
He might.
Google it quickly.
Woof. Anyway.
The reason why we're bringing up Torts in particular, though, is his Blue Jackets are winning despite a boatload of drama this year.
Absolutely.
Bobrovsky and Panarin pretty much came forward at the beginning of the season and said, we don't want to play in Columbus anymore. The city of Columbus has responded by begging Artemi Panarin to stay.
Yeah.
Bobrovsky got suspended for the game against Nashville for
Undisclosed
disciplinary violating team conduct stuff.
reasons. Yeah.
That Columbus put out an official press release about.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Dan Bilesma, he's an assistant coach for the Red Wings.
Okay. So, yeah, that was really, really weird. We didn't exactly know what was going on with the Bobrovsky thing. Tortorella refused to talk about it during his pregame press conference. In the postgame press conference after Columbus won and he won his 600th game, someone asked him about it again, and he essentially said, this team has drama problems, but we've been open about all of them this year so that we can work together and get past them, and you can see that our strategy is working.
And on the rankings of drama filled teams around the league, that's probably one of the better handlings of it.
Yeah, I think the question that people have is why do a press release? Why not just quietly scratch Bobrovsky and let it go?
Well, you're not going to be able to quietly scratch Bobrovsky.
Yeah, a
with,
player of his pedigree.
With just the spotlight that's on the trade rumors with him right now. That's because they're thinking that he might be dealt at the deadline, right?
I don't get how you can possibly deal him. This team is a Stanley Cup contender. You can't deal your starting goalie.
I think they would sooner lose him for nothing and take a crack at it.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, that makes more sense.
It's not the smart hockey move, but Again, this is a franchise that's really, really weird because, like, we give Torts crap all the time for being a disciplinarian, and eventually, because players change and rosters rotate and new guys come in and you draft players, eventually you end up with a roster that doesn't respond well to a disciplinarian, and then your team stinks. And then Tortorella becomes toxic and gets fired. Rinse, repeat, ad infinitum forever with every team he's ever coached.
How deep does Columbus go in the playoffs if they don't run into Pittsburgh or Washington in the first round?
I mean, there's no way they're not going to.
No. But like in theory, if they don't run into one of those two teams, how deep can they go? Like if they don't have to play either.
I think it depends on who they run into, but in the current playoff format, see, you can't do that hypothetical because in the current playoff format, they're going to have to play one of those teams.
See, I think if they don't, though, I think it's one of those things where they're just a half a step behind them, and that's what's going to be the death of them.
I would sooner rather play Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's like been like ho hum, where like Washington is going to be scary for anyone because I think Ovechkin is still bloodthirsty for more
Also
cups.
vengeance.
I mean, you say that now, and
that's
then
true.
Crosby's just going to eat
If
your
Columbus
lunch.
doesn't win a first round series, does Tortorella get fired?
How many years has he been with the team?
4, and they've had 3 straight first round exits.
I think it depends.
Yeah, you probably.
Because Torts isn't the problem. In fact, it seems like Torts has actually softened a little bit as a coach, which I'm assuming is a reaction to the roster he has. Something he never showed a willingness to do in the past.
Mm-hmm. It's all going to depend on like where they want to take this team's direction because it's going to change. Regardless of how they do in the playoffs, it's probably going to change.
I mean, if you lose Bob, but you keep Panarin, you don't have to change that much. You just need a goalie.
Yeah.
And they have Eunice Corposello.
Yeah,
who's fine.
I don't know if he's an answer long term, though.
I think he's an answer.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
You probably, like, of the two, you probably want, like, lose Bobrovsky out of the two.
I think you have a chance of keeping Panarin. It really feels at this point like you have no chance of keeping Bobrovsky.
Yeah, and Panarin, like, that gives... I think you get more out of Panarin because, like, that's someone you can build a team around, build your offense around, where a goalie, like... I'm not sure what the UFA and RFA markets look for goalies in the upcoming...
It's really good.
Yeah, I think it is pretty good. So you'll be able to find someone...
Bob's going to get a lot of money.
He's going to get carry price money.
And there's a team out there that could use a starting goaltender of his caliber.
Yeah,
sure.
The Flyers.
Carter
Blackhawks.
Hart's been really good.
Flyers, yeah.
Yeah. If he's ready.
I think he's ready.
But then again, like, Bobrovsky's
He's
not
been
a
good
stop...
since the call-up, right?
Yeah, Bobrovsky's not a stopgap kind of goalie, like where like you'd have him up and like have Hart in the background and everything like that.
No.
Bob wants term. He'll definitely want term.
Yeah, and to start, because that's the goalie he is.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you a team out there will pay him money.
Florida,
Absolutely.
maybe?
Sens.
Sens.
Sens for sure.
Sens don't spend money. We know
That's
this.
true.
Yeah, because they don't have money.
Plus, why would you want to go to Ottawa?
It's true.
Calgary, maybe, if you don't have faith in Redditch long-term?
Is the debate, is Bob going to be trying to get paid by a contender? Because none of the contenders can afford him.
Well,
Bob needs to be playing the long game if he's looking for term.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
he needs to look at a team with potential.
Canucks?
They got Demko and DiPietro. I'm not sure about that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Blackhawks?
That might be... See, that's the thing, though, is if Vancouver's on the cusp of making the playoffs and you want to keep a starting goaltender in, that might be an avenue for you to get something at the deadline. If you're Columbus, Vancouver's success from here might actually be worth it, because the Canucks might be willing to, knowing that they have Demko and DiPietro, get rid of Markstrom at the deadline if they can bring in Bobrovsky. And then you probably get something else in the exchange.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then-
in the way of a pick.
That'd be a smart move.
A pick, maybe a prospect. Maybe you get DiPietro.
I mean, depending, because like that's
Yeah.
the thing is, you might also be able to get DiPietro, and then the Canucks could try going 1A, 1B with Demko, because we still don't know if he's ready.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And then if he's not, you have Bob.
He hasn't started
Yeah,
a game yet, has he?
There are options here, is my point. Carolina's another really good one where they've got like 3 or 4 caliber goalies. McElhaney back to Columbus for a playoff run, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah, like those a couple teams like Vancouver could really like upgrade their fail safes there. Like
10 minutes left. All-Star game. Bergeron asked not to be voted in.
yes.
Yeah.
Because he has a quote from the tweet that I have is that he has has a newborn.
He has a kid and he
has
wants
a
the
kid.
time off.
Yeah, absolutely. Carey Price injured, or is he injured? Or is he choosing not to go?
I think he's choosing not to go
Choosing not to go.
So we'll be suspended.
for one game,
Yeah,
which is dumb.
Vasilevsky comes in. That's a admirable replacement and everything. Makes sense. It's All-Star game, that's pretty much confirms like with the amount of players that are just like, oh, I'm not interested. I just want to rest and I don't want to go do this. Like it's not just not a priority for the players. It's like it's almost seemed like it's the insignificance of it is astounding at this point.
Yeah, there's no money in it for the players. It's a little bit obnoxious, I think, even for the fans. The skills competition is the only part that people really care about. Mm-hmm. And this isn't like the NFL. Like, the Pro Bowl takes place at the end of a season.
Yeah.
So if you want to go play in a Pro Bowl, you're playing after the season is over, so you don't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
If you go to an All-Star game and tear your MCL, you're screwed.
Yeah, because if you don't, the only like players you'll lose is whoever's still playing for the Super Bowl at that point, which is the weekend after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This seems like a very we haven't even gotten there, and All-Star Weekend already seems extremely disappointing.
Yeah, I think
with stars like Pettersson out, Price out, Bergeron doesn't want to go. Some astoundingly dumb All-Star picks where they skipped obvious players for non-obvious choices.
Yeah, I think they definitely take a look at the team representation, and they need to shake it up. They need, if they want this to be a viable part of the NHL schedule, they gotta shake it up and give some more incentive for the players to go and for fans to go too. Like, I know, like, I don't want to bash San Jose's hockey market, but like with like all these players not going, like that's gonna hurt the turnout, I think.
Yeah. CBA. So the NHL has announced that they want to negotiate the CBA over the All-Star break, which is fine. Yes, please get these contract talks done now before we get to the awful ending.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Gary Bettman said that they have to sign an agreement on the 2020 World Cup of Hockey by the end of the All-Star break without a CBA in place. That is dumb, and they shouldn't do that.
Is that a self-imposed deadline? Or?
Yeah. That is a self-imposed
Very
deadline.
much.
To be fair,
Bettman
is claiming that it's an organizational deadline, that to organize the World Cup in time, they have to know if it's happening now, because they don't want to start organizing it and then have a work stoppage happen and then not have players for the World Cup.
When are they planning for it?
Well, CBA is up next year?
After next season?
Yeah. Really, it's going to take you more than a year to plan this World Cup of Hockey thing?
It really does.
Anton Thun,
it takes a lot.
Well, yeah, because you have to get a team in. You have to get a team in. You have to organize the event. You have to find a place to host it. Toronto, Montreal, wherever you're going to host it.
Yeah.
You have to prep the rosters. You have to get the players in. You have to have a CBA in place against NHL players who are going to take part. Like, there is actually a lot of work that goes into this.
Mm-hmm.
Anton Thun, who is represented the NHL players since 1985. For an international hockey calendar or World Cup of Hockey in 2020 to have any impact at all or be the reason for hastening CBA talks does not make any sense. The World Cup of Hockey in 2016 did not advance hockey to the world. It generated relative peanuts. It was not international hockey. It did not develop international hockey. It was NHL players wearing their countries or an artificial entity's jerseys, and it brought in local money for Toronto, and that's it. It was expected to turn a $65 million profit according to reports, but it netted a return of $44 million instead.
Yeah. Can you really say it much better than that? Like, that shouldn't be a driving like rush move.
The World Cup of Hockey stinks.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a reason to rush important CBA negotiations.
Go ahead.
What do you mean?
I said the World Cup of Hockey stinks, and you're smiling and laughing.
I'm just smiling and laughing because you're looking right at me.
Yes.
But okay.
Say what you said before the show came on the air.
I think a World Cup of Hockey style event is better for the NHL than the Olympics.
Oh, that's not what you said. That's not what you said before the show. You said that it was better than the Olympics, period.
Oh, yes.
If you're talking about better for the marketing of the NHL, that's a completely different story. I also still disagree with you.
Okay. So do I think the play in the Olympics is better than what would be in the World Cup? Absolutely. But do I think the NHL should go to the Olympics? No. I don't think so.
Just to butt in here.
You mean the NHL as an entity shouldn't go to the Olympics. You do not personally think that NHLers should not go.
NHL players should not play in the Olympics.
Wow. So 2 episodes on video where someone's going to find the studio and burn it to the ground.
Yeah. So do we have anything else to talk about, or is this going to be the end of the show?
Alabama and Clemson. But I mean, you guys don't really follow college football, so this is mostly going to be me. I guess I'll jump in really quick, and we'll spend the last 5 minutes on the Olympics thing.
Yeah.
Alabama and Clemson was a really, really good national title game. The first half was really, really exciting, and it was really, really exciting until Alabama missed an extra point that would have tied the game at 14, and then the wheels fell off. And Clemson kicked the absolute tar out of them, outscoring them 30-3 for the rest of the game.
Yeah. And they now have both teams in the last 4 years similar.
55-4 with 2 national titles.
Yeah.
Oof. God, I hate those
identical.
teams. I want to make this clear to people who listen all the time. I don't hate Alabama and Clemson because I hate those schools. I hate Alabama because they're essentially the Yankees. And I hate Clemson because their coach, Dabo Swinney, is a jerk.
And we'll leave it at that. Resume your fight, gentlemen.
Okay.
You're just wrong.
No.
The World Cup of Hockey was an absolute farce. 2 of the teams weren't even countries.
Okay, but putting it in perspective. So now, looking back on 2014 in Sochi, you look at players, and I know this is the argument that everyone uses, but players are at risk when they go. You're going over multiple time zones. You're going into Russia. You're going over 8 time zones.
The Olympics was willing to pay out insurance on the last Olympics here, the ones in Pyeongchang, and then the NHL moved the goalposts.
Insurance doesn't solve for injured players, though. John Tavares got hurt. His whole season was done, and that dashed the Islanders' hopes of making the playoffs.
Yeah, but at least if you get hurt at the Olympics, you're missing half a season. If you get play at the World Cup and you get hurt, you miss the entire season. It takes place before the season starts.
Okay, well, if we're talking about timing, you could easily adjust that. You could easily adjust the timing. But having a 17-day break in the midst of the season when... So now, it might just be skeletons in my closet because the Leafs going into that were on like an 8-game winning streak.
Are we talking logistics? If we're talking logistics, of course they shouldn't go. But if you're talking about hockey as a product, if you're talking about the NHL's alleged mission statement to grow the game of hockey, not going to the Olympics and hosting your own private World Cup is stupid.
I just think there's other ways you can grow the game. And I think the end game is having a soccer-style World Cup.
It also doesn't.
That's the end game.
It also doesn't make the money that it's supposed to make. They didn't lose, but they made $21 million less than they expected to make, and they hosted it in Toronto.
Now, I don't think the World Cup in 2016 reached its full potential of what it could have been. I think that you can find ways to maximize that. And if you're worried about the money, you can find ways to maximize the profit. But what it comes down to is if you're worrying about the product that you put on the ice, let's be real. There's only 2 or 3 teams that are going to realistically win gold at the Olympics.
That's not true at all.
I think that, like, on my list of, like, if we map out the rosters, there's only 2 or 3 teams that I realistically see winning.
Which teams are that I have to ask?
Canada, US, Sweden.
No Russia?
No Russia?
No Russia.
Okay, you do realize that since 1998, the Czechs have won a gold medal.
1.
The Americans have come silver at 2 tournaments where they were expected to be bad. The Swedes have a gold and a silver. And if you count the one that just passed, Russia now has a gold medal as well.
Okay.
So, like, what's your logic here that a team won't... Like, you were saying that the Russian team, if you took the same skeleton of the team that won in Pyeongchang and added Ovechkin, Malkin... Kuznetsov, that team can't win a gold medal? Bob and net?
But also take into account, Canada's adding Crosby, McDavid, Marner. The United States is adding Patrick Kane, Austin Matthews.
Sure.
Like, you list it, and I think if we go down the list, like, my reasoning will take longer than we have. Okay. I mean, like,
we don't. We literally have a minute. But
yeah.
For reference, and the reason why I think you're wrong. Hey, Johnny, when you watch the World Juniors, which teams do you expect to win?
Now, like, Canada, US, Sweden, Finland.
Oh, sure.
Should have been Czechs this year.
At the beginning of this decade, would you have included Finland?
No.
At the beginning of this decade, would you have expected Slovakia to win a medal?
Nope.
2 medals for Slovakia, 3 gold medals this decade for Finland. Time changes things.
It does.
And the Russians have better players in the K, and the Finns are now able to hoard players in their elite leagues as well. It's not the same game anymore. There's a reason why Germany almost won a gold medal at this Olympics, because they got to bring their best players over from Germany.
Well, Canada did not.
Sure. But even if you're arguing that the Germans would then have a tougher test and Canada might be more likely to beat them, it's not like these teams don't have elite players on them.
See, I'm not saying they don't have a chance to win. I just say realistically, I only see 3 different teams winning.
That's all the time that we have today. Do you agree with Sean? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with both of us? You can comment down below on YouTube. You can also reach us by email, overtimechsr@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at overtimechsr. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Overtime Radio on CHSR 97.9 FM in Fredericton, and we will see you on Monday from 2 to 3.